night to about ballast, not solid the whole way through. A little busy at Topgolf. It's backed up. Winghaven to 364, then slow out to 70 after that. Southbound 270, south of 364 to Doherty Ferry, 44 to Gravois, slow. Northbound north of Manchester, most of the way to Olive is pretty heavy. South 170 bogs down at Ladue. Eastbound 64 McKnight to Big Bend's kind of slow. North 170, 70 up to Airport Road's heavy. Both directions 44 around Kings Highway have got delays. Eastbound it's near Hampton due to the road work. Westbound Gawker's slow at about Grand. Southbound 55 Arsenal down through Bates, bumper to bumper. And westbound 44 is bogged down between the bridges downtown. Next update at 5:20 from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
News, traffic, and the latest from the world of sports. This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Guys, welcome into Wednesday on Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on KMOX. And, Matt, you got a little sports open line coming up tonight, but that will be very short. No, none tonight.
No, we're done at 5:45.
Oh, are we, the game's that early? Oh, I thought it was 6:45. Well, glad you told me.
I just took 15 minutes off your workday, Kevin Wheeler.
Thank you, baby. I thought it was 6:45. Either way, 5:45 now, 6 o'clock just after that for the start of the Billikens. Good game tonight, too. Billikens and
Great
VCU,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, going to VCU. That's a good challenge in front of them, and we'll see how that all plays out.
Well, between now and then, we're just going to talk some ball and get into some hot stove. Feel free to jump in on the chat if you're there with us. Our regular Lauren's already there. Hey, Lauren, how you doing? Hey. You're jumping in on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Feel free to just message us right there on the app. Let's talk baseball, Matt, and obviously talking Cards right out of the gate. And we'll talk about the Cubs trade and whether or not that's in any way teaching us anything that we can apply to our discussions about the Cardinals in a couple minutes. But saw a note today in The Athletic that I thought was interesting about the Donovan trade market, and it was just in there mixed in with their regular kind of like daily update on what they're hearing from around baseball. So it's Will Salmon and Ken Rosenthal are the guys that wrote the story. And the note in there on Donovan was an interesting one, but I think we can parse it a little bit because I don't know that it is as simple as it sounds. But the note was this, simply, I'm only going to read a couple sentences. It says, why have the Cardinals not yet traded Donovan, the player who can bring them the most in a deal? And according to the Athletic story, it says it comes down to a difference in perceived value. The Cardinals view Donovan as a star player, while not all clubs see him that way, according to the people briefed on the conversation. So a couple things that are qualifying here. One, we don't know which side of the argument or the conversations that's coming from, keeping in mind that all teams and representatives, agents, whatever, that are talking to reporters are on a side. They're going to be on one side or the other of the deal. So whether that is exactly right, it certainly fits what we've been talking about, Matt, which is they don't want to just move him. It's going to be if they get what they want.
Yeah, and the price has always been high. Maybe one day we'll learn just how high it is at its highest. I think he's a really good player that can impact teams, but we've both said over and over and over, if you're expecting to get a top 50 level prospect in all of baseball,
right.
That might not be coming your way. Although, Kevin, some of the names that we have heard bantied about have kind of been in that neighborhood. So I've kind of backed off that a little bit just because at times, especially like in the Seattle conversation, I've been a little bit surprised on the level of prospect that they've talked about coming back. And if you can get that, I think you do make that deal. But where the Cardinals position themselves from a strength side in the sense that they don't have to move Brendan Donovan.
Right.
So they can have a high price tag and see what happens in spring training and what happens during the year where maybe his value goes up, but it's also a gamble because there's also a pretty good chance that his value is actually never going to be higher than what it is right now.
Probably not. I mean, maybe if he's making the all-star team again, that kind of thing, but there's also the chance of another injury, even if it's a minor one, right? Anything minor would still be a potential speed bump. As for the Seattle rumors, the names that were mentioned, and I forget which outlet, I think it was The Athletic that maybe had it, it was Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times that had it, mentioned that the names Lázaro Montes, who is a big power hitter, the number 29 prospect in baseball according to MLB.com, and switch pitcher Durangelo Cinche were the two names that were mentioned. But the phrasing that Divish used was not those were guys the Mariners were willing to give up. It said those were names that came up, which could just mean the Cardinals said, hey, what about that 6'5", 240-pound home run hitting guy? And the Mariners might have been like, let's not do that. So we don't, again, we don't know exactly how that process went down. And Cinche actually fits the description more of what we're talking about, somebody that's in the bottom half of the top 100.
Yeah, and just to your point, I always remind people of this. This athletic report, Will Salmon was part of it. Will's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, Will's great.
Will was working in Milwaukee when I was in Milwaukee, so I know Will really, really well, and I think he's a heck of a writer and a really good insider. So this is not a shot at him whatsoever, but people should not forget that a lot of times this information that gets put out there, it's very transactional, where an agent or somebody or a team will drop something into the lap of a reporter with the idea that you're going to have to get some help on the other side at some point down the line. So just take everything with a grain of salt. There's really good writers out there, but all of them at some point in time have written something that has had a bit of an agenda based off what side it's coming from. So I don't know what it's going to look like. I think Donovan's going to get traded. If they get somebody who is a top 100 level prospect, even if it's on the bottom half of the top 100, I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
Of course. I mean, I think for 2 years of a player who is a good player, but not a great player, you're probably not going to get more than that. No. Donovan had one season in his career where he was above 3 wins above replacement. That was his rookie year. He was a four WAR player as a rookie. But he's consistent though, because his numbers mostly look the same across the board, in terms of batting average, on base percentage. Although I will say this, his on base percentage that year was .294. He's not sniffed that since, and that's the difference in his offensive performance then to what we've seen the last couple of years. But he's also had 2 of the last 3 years impacted by injury, which is another part of this, even though they're not like, well, one of them was Tommy John, but he's not a pitcher, so that's not going to impact his kind of, what would you say, his value or be looked upon as any kind of a red flag moving forward. And this year, the knee and the sports hernia surgery, that could be maybe a little bit of a short-term impediment, but probably not a big one for somebody that's getting him for 2 years.
Hopefully other teams can also say some of that was done in by himself and the organization.
By just playing through it.
So you got to be smart with him as well. That's if you bring in a player who's got a bit of an injury history to him, it becomes that much more important that you put together a plan and a system where you avoid those injuries as much as possible.
Yeah, and, the thing that's interesting to me, though, is, how do you make it all work if he's around? Now, it's not that hard because you can play him anywhere, but it's still going to interrupt somebody, right?
Nolan Gorman's the guy who would get interrupted.
Yeah, I think so. Or they could hold off on promoting Weatherholt, but that's holding him back, in my opinion. I think if he shows he's ready, he's probably going to be there. Just, I don't see why they would want to hold back on that. You're talking about a guy that can get fans a little taste of what they can expect in the future. He's obviously very talented. Rated as one of the top prospects in the sport.
Maybe I'm incorrect in saying this, but I feel like if the organization had it in the back of their head that maybe Weatherholt is not going to be given every opportunity to make the opening day roster, that narrative would already be sneaking its way out in some form. Like that has not been a part of the messaging anyway, anyhow, anywhere so far. So no, I think they are positioning for Weatherholt to be on the opening day roster as an everyday guy.
And it makes sense because you would like him to be full go, established player when you're starting to get good again.
Yes.
Right? So the sooner he gets that experience and gets, through the initial struggles that a rookie's going to have and all that, as soon as you finish all that up, and he is who he is, you're talking about probably a couple years down the road. That's when you're planning on, I'm sure, they're hoping to be back on the upswing then and not still stuck in this.
Yeah, I think it's okay to put expectations upon this team in 2027 and put
Sure.
real expectations on them in 2028. And by the time you hit 2028, J.J. Weatherholt should really be humming along.
Yeah, you would hope that maybe he's your all-star candidate when you're in that season, right? All right, stick around. More baseball. We had a trade today that actually kind of could tell us something about how this goes, right? The Cubs picked up Edward Cabrera from the Marlins for their top prospect, for the Cubs' top prospect, Owen Casey. That might be an interesting thing to comp when we're talking about Donovan deals. Not that they're the same, but what makes that Cubs deal different than what you might get for a Donovan return? We'll talk about it next on KMOX.
KMOX, celebrating 100 years. Presented by Purina, your pet, our passion. Now, a KMOX pioneer.
A trailblazer for women in St. Louis broadcasting, Ann Keefe brought intelligence, fairness, and integrity to every story she touched. Joining KMOX at a time when few women held newsroom roles, Keefe quickly earned the trust of listeners with her clear reporting and unwavering professionalism. On At Your Service, her interviews became must-listen moments, thoughtful, tough, and always balanced.
With a television, a video terminal display, and a telephone at his side on the beach, Richard Deal may be setting up a whole new trend in business. Incidentally, that's a pretty good way to cut back on office rent. I'm Ann Keefe.
Ann Keefe opened doors for generations to come and helped build KMOX's reputation as a station committed to accuracy, fairness, and the community it serves. Ann Keefe, a KMOX pioneer.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
At Graybar, we know your time is money. That's why our services go beyond parts and products. With kitting, pre-assembly, wire carts, and Graybar smart reels that keep you moving. We stage materials and manage logistics so you can spend less time sorting and more time installing. And with locations nationwide, we deliver when and where you need it, working to make your job easier every step of the way. Yep, Graybar does that.
What if every time you spent money, you saved money too? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can do just that. Every debit card purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar, and the spare change goes right into your savings. And here's the best part. Together Credit Union boosts your progress by matching qualifying savings, up to $8 a month. It's a free checking account that helps you achieve more automatically. Learn more, or better yet, enroll today at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA. Hey City fans, the official 2026 St. Louis City SC Yeti refillable Rambler is here. Pre-order yours now at stlcitygo.com to get yours by the home opener on February 21st.
Traffic from the michaelsflooringoutlet.com traffic center.
Well, westbound Highway 70 is still kind of busy out of the city. Let's call it west of Kings Highway, headed out through Jennings Station. A little slowdown across the Blanchette. We had a minor stall there. It's slow in pockets, though, from that point out to Zumbo, really. TR Hughes through Highway K and then around to Highway A. Westbound 64 bunches up several points. Approaching Kings Highway out through Clayton Skinker, it's slow. Out through Big Bend, it's slow. Clayton Clarkson to Topgolf. Jammed Winghaven to 364, then slow out to 70 after that. North and south 270 between Clayton Road and Oliver busy. Southbound, though, begins north of Olive, and it goes to Doherty Ferry, and then Big Bend down to Gravois. So a lot of volume there. It's bumper to bumper in pockets. South 170, Delmar down to 64. Eastbound 64, McKnight to Big Bend. A minor crash westbound 44 at Elm. Traffic's delayed near Laclede Station coming out to that one. North 170, Natural Bridge up to Airport Road slow. Eastbound 44, Hampton through Kings Highway's jammed. Westbound Grand through Kings Highway slow. The eastbound side is roadwork. Westbound 44 backed up between the bridges. Southbound 55 south of Arsenal through Bates. You're on the brakes. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
All right, it's Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on KMOX, doing some baseball today until we get to Billikens basketball. We'll be done at 5:45, and then 6 o'clock Billikens and VCU. We saw the trade today, Matt. It was Cubs and Marlins. No big surprise that Edward Cabrera got traded. There have been a lot of rumors about that for really about a year now. But in exchange for Edward Cabrera, the Marlins get a top hitting prospect. They get Owen Casey, who was, I think, number 47 prospect according to MLB.com, plus a couple of other guys that are a little further away that aren't as high profile, which should tell us something, right? So what you're looking at there is the Cubs getting a starting pitcher in Cabrera who has 3 years of control left, who throws 100 miles an hour, who has a 94-mile-an-hour changeup, who strikes people out, but also has been up and down because of injuries. He's missed quite a bit of time as a major league player, but that player, I think, is going to carry more value in a trade conversation typically than a player like Donovan, with 1 year less of control and certainly not the kind of raw material that you'd be looking at with Cabrera. So that's why I would expect the return for Donovan to be a little lower, but there's something else to throw in. We don't know what the level of interest or desperation is of whoever you're going to trade with, so that can be a factor that we have to think about too.
It can, but teams are generally more desperate for pitching than they are for a
sure.
utility guy.
Yeah, especially paying for it.
Right, and I'm not trying to be dismissive of sometimes when you say utility guy, it has like this.
No,
Brendan
he's an
Donovan's
everyday
a legit
player.
dude.
Yeah.
So, in every position guy would be a way to make it sound. Again, I'm not trying to be demeaning of him. I'm a big Brendan Donovan guy. But the point that I'm trying to make is I don't think they're comparable. You have a pitcher with all this control who does exactly what everybody wants pitchers to do right now.
Right.
The only downside on him is the fact that he does have a bit of an injury history versus a nice position player, a really nice position player, a guy you can go win a lot of ball games with in your lineup. But no, I don't think that you look at the top player in this and a number 47 overall prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. This really also hurts the Cubs because MLB Pipeline has him as their number one prospect in the entire organization. I just think that the return for Brendan Donovan would be maybe even significantly less than what the Cubs just gave up.
Yeah, it may be, but again, the only thing we don't really truly grasp is how determined another team would be to make a deal. And that can lead to maybe what some would say is an overpay, or it would be lower than we would think. And that's why I was saying when we talked about Seattle, the pitcher, Sinche, who is more like, I think, the 90th best prospect right now, like that's more likely the range than, say, a guy who's number 29 or 30. Although if you could get the 29 or 30, I don't know, maybe there's a way to sweeten it to do that, or maybe that's how much the team values the player. You just have to wait and see.
And the other side of this, I mentioned this during the Glover show, like we don't know what the Cubs internally thought about Casey.
That's correct, right.
Maybe some red flags have popped up on him at some point that only the Cubs are aware of, or maybe there's something about his makeup. Like, I'm just throwing stuff out there. I don't know
There's
any
stuff
of this
the general public is not going to be aware of, yeah.
Right, so all of a sudden, if you feel a little bit less about a guy, that makes you more willing to trade him, and you can go get a Cabrera. I had to laugh, by the way, Kevin, because I think it was yesterday's show where I was like, oh, you know what? The Cubs are probably mostly done. This is going to kind of be who they are.
Yeah.
Nope, they went out and they got a guy. They got a dude who's going to, if he can stay healthy, that makes that team much better. And we talked about the win totals yesterday where the Cubs had the highest win totals according to Vegas going into the year. And this is just another move to kind of put them there as on paper. I hate saying this, but on paper, the Cubs have the best roster in the National League Central.
I mean, and they did last year too, going in, and obviously the Brewers outplayed them. But they should, they have the resources. I don't understand why they're so weird. I really don't. I mean, they own all of Wrigleyville basically. They've got all this stuff going on around the ballpark. They've got a top 3 market revenue. And they always play it very close to the vest and conservative. And there's still some buzz, by the way, that they're looking at Bregman or Bo Bichette as possible upgrades. We'll see, because they haven't been super aggressive on those guys, though they did go out and sign Dansby Swanson for a pretty big contract.
I think Heyman said they even checked in on old friend Cody Bellinger, which I don't know completely how that would work out, but they could still do a little bit more, and they are a team that has the financial resources almost of the Yankees, almost of the Dodgers, yet they try to pretend like they're a mid-sized market team like the Reds or something. It's odd. It's baffling. If you're a Cubs fan, it's just got to be so tough to watch the lack of resources that's put back in. And then when people from their ownership group talk, they'll say that they're breaking even and they're putting everything back into the team, which is just a blatant lie.
Yeah, it's not what's happening. It's definitely not what's happening. All right, stick around. We got more Rush Hour Sports. We will take you up to just before 5:45, and then we've got the Billikens taking on VCU coming up at the top of the hour here on KMOX.
Okay, we've got the chips, the fancy cheese, the sparkling cider. Oh, and I need to fill up the tank on the way home.
Look at the cart. We haven't even hit midnight yet, and you're already blowing your save money resolution for next year.
I'm not blowing it. I'm being smart. I'm using Upside.
Upside? That cash back app?
Exactly. I just claimed an offer, and just like that, I'm getting cash back on all these groceries. And I'll do the same at the gas station. It's how I earned an extra $250 this year.
Wait, $250?
Yep, that's extra cash I can cash out to my bank or throw onto gift cards to my favorite spots.
Download the free Upside app and start earning cash back now. Use promo code POP10 for a $10 bonus on your first grocery purchase. That's promo code POP10. Make your resolution easy this year. Download the free Upside app today and use promo code POP10 for an extra $10 bonus on your first purchase.
Offers vary by user and location at participating merchants. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
The NFL playoffs have arrived, and you know who can make every moment feel bigger? Well, that would be DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The game always shifting fast. That's certainly always the case during postseason games. And how about live betting options? Maybe you look at some of the numbers before the game starts and you don't like them, but all of a sudden game gets going and some stuff shifts a little bit. You can really be that much more engaged in the game as you're taking it in by doing live betting with DraftKings. You know, look at some of the numbers this upcoming weekend. Are the Rams being favored by 10.5 points? Is that something that they're going to be able to cover? You can do prop bets. Aaron Rodgers just threw for almost 300 yards in the season finale. Does he have that again against the Houston Texans? Those are some of the things that you can really take a look at and bet on when you're going through live betting and going into games as well. Plus, DraftKings always has your back with early exit protection. If you have a player in your eligible NFL prop bet that goes down at any point in the first half, you'll still get paid in cash. You're covered through the entire first half. Download the DraftKings Sports app now and use code KMOX. That's code KMOX to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Additional terms at dkng.com/audio. Limited time offer.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. So as you know, I'm a lawyer, haven't practiced in a long time, but I did plaintiff's work and defense work, so I have a pretty good understanding of it. I have a pretty good idea of who's who in the firmament of plaintiffs' attorneys. And for my money, Mark Cantor is the guy. He's a great attorney. He is a great practitioner. He's put together a great team. He was born and raised here. He lives here. He works here. He wins here. Call 314-628-ALL-9s or CantorInjuryLaw.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based on advertising.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at LanceDruryLaw.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
At 5:30 right now, we've got a clear sky. It's 55 degrees downtown at the Arch. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is addressing right now the shooting of a American citizen in the Minneapolis area by an ICE agent. Let's listen in.
Off of the streets of Minneapolis.
Can you give us any insight into your conversation with the
You know, Tim and I have known each other for years. We served in Congress together. We both ran for governor the same year and have served as governor at the same times. So we were colleagues, and we discussed what happened here today. We have two very different viewpoints of it. I talked specifically about the fact that we have laws. They need to be enforced. He knows that I believe sanctuary policies have protected criminals and placed a priority of them over the citizens that live here, and he knows we'll continue to do our work, and I encouraged him to work with us. We've never had a cooperative arrangement with law enforcement here. Whenever we've done investigations, whenever we've done police work, when we've been doing what we can to bring people to justice for the crimes that they commit, we haven't had the cooperation of the state of Minnesota or the city police here under the mayor's direction. If you talk to any of these federal law enforcement officers, they'll say that when they call for backup in a situation, that it's hit and miss. They were grateful today that the police chief and local law enforcement showed up at the scene and helped secure it to make sure that nobody was harmed and that the FBI could do their work. But
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem right now speaking in Minneapolis. Merchants on historic Main Street are pleading with the St. Charles City Council to pause a planned reorganization of the tourism department. Lydia Crespo, owner of the Cozy Shop, warns disrupting the marketing that drives visitors to Main Street could be disastrous.
We are not hurting, but we are fragile. So if we're going to risk my business and the businesses of those around me, risk 51 years of culture and tradition, risk visitor expectations and loyalty, and break up an award-winning and nationally recognized tourism department, then I need more than an internal opinion.
Crespo is asking council members to require an independent impact study by an industry expert before voting on any changes. St. Louis is ranked 6th in the nation as a judicial hellhole, while Madison and St. Clair counties in Illinois are lumped in with Cook County to place 7th. President of the American Tort Reform Association, Tiger Joyce, tells KMOX what constitutes tort abuse.
You have lawyers who are using the system for their benefit and not for a broader benefit or to serve the interest of someone who has a legitimate claim.
The recently appointed CEO of a major golf organization is stepping down.
Derek Sprague is leaving the PGA of America as CEO after 1 year to tend to his family. Sprague says he was home in upstate New York last month when he realized he needed to be home to care for his mother and mother-in-law. Sprague was the first club professional in 20 years to be appointed CEO of the organization. He also was the first past PGA president to become CEO. The PGA of America hopes to have a replacement in the coming weeks. Sprague will help advise with the transition. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Roblox has rolled out a new age verification technology that requires anyone to prove they're over the age of 13 to use its chat function. Tech contributor Ian Scher.
Hopefully, this technology will help Roblox cut down on the number of children who are abused on its platform. But this is not going to solve every issue. And the key question now will be what the company continues to do to protect the millions of young gamers who use its service every day.
From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, for tonight, clouds, low 45. For tomorrow, periods of rain. It's not going to rain all the time, but it will be windy with a high of 63. Right now, clear 55 downtown. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's 2026 and it's time to get your home zero-resified by calling our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119 plus a free hallway, and take 15% off regularly priced services when you mention the KMOX special. ZeroResSTL.com.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, City fans, the official 2026 St. Louis City SC Yeti refillable Rambler is here. Pre-order yours now at stlcitygo.com to get yours by the home opener on February 21st.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here for another 10 minutes or so, and we'll be getting you to Billikens basketball pregame at 5:45, opening tip just after 6 o'clock with the Billikens taking on VCU. Matt, let's break this up. I thought this was an interesting comment on the stream. So this is from Al Barber, assuming that AL is meant to be a name. Sorry if I'm reading that wrong, bud. But says, I'm kind of really sad for baseball. I think the sport has lost a lot of popularity. Their exclusionary tendencies for game broadcasts continue to hurt the game. At some point, Major League Baseball is going to implode, and maybe we get a reset. Hopefully the Cardinals roster by that time will be back and ready to compete again. The second part, the last part about the Cardinals, okay, I mean, we hope they're back and competing again soon too, but you don't want it to collapse, number one. Number two, the sport has not lost popularity. They just had record ratings and record attendance, both TV and radio ratings, by the way, national and local television, for that matter. And they just broke another revenue record. So the sport isn't losing popularity. And I think you're just talking about the blackout rules for streaming when you're talking about exclusionary tendencies. But that's never been different because those games would never have been accessible to you outside of having a regional sports network on your cable or satellite provider anyway.
And that's all changing. Like Rob Manfred,
that's going to be changing for the better. Yeah.
Yeah, Rob Manfred's been well on record saying that he doesn't like blackouts at all. He wants the product and the game to as many people as can possibly get it. I'd like to have a conversation with Al.
Yeah, I mean, he's not trying to be a jerk. That's why I'm trying. No, this is not a chewing out. It's more of a. Yeah. I don't think it's as bad as you think it is.
Right, and actually, so the reason I'd like to have a conversation with Al is because when he says, "I think the sport has lost a lot of popularity," my follow-up question to him would be, "What leads you to believe that?"
Well, I can give you an answer that's not really the best answer. But I think it might feel that way to Cardinals fans because the Cardinals aren't as good as they used to be.
Okay, yeah. If your only point of reference is attendance at Cardinals games, then yes, baseball has lost popularity. But that's not the only point of reference. There's a bunch of other teams, and there's a bunch of other ways to watch games. It's a remarkable story, Kevin, that while attendance at Busch Stadium has tanked, TV ratings have gone up.
And our ratings
and it's not simply that the people who are not at the games are, if you just took the people that were not at the games and added them to the TV ratings, like that wouldn't be enough to increase
cover it.
the numbers.
No.
Right. So the TV ratings were, now I do think the
TV went up because of the ability to subscribe to the FanDuel app, and you had a direct way to get it rather than having to have a certain service.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. So the interest in the team has not lowered, even though there's less butts in seats.
Yeah, I think that's a really important distinction. And I know nothing challenges the NFL. I mean, the NFL is king, and that's not going to change anytime soon for a lot of reasons. Gambling, it's a much easier commitment for a sports fan. It's once a week. There are a lot of reasons why the NFL is always going to be on top. At least as far as we can see, barring weird changes. But baseball's fine. It's the second highest grossing revenue sport in the world. You could add the top 2 soccer leagues in the world, and they don't equal baseball in terms of revenue. So it needs to get better. They need to do what you're talking about with fixing up the television packaging and bringing it all together so that it's no blackouts, it's accessible the same way for everybody, regardless of what their TV provider is, and to raise up the smaller markets and close the gap between the top and the bottom markets in terms of TV revenue. So I agree all those things they need to happen, but it's not nearly as dire as our commenter made it seem. All right, real quick, let's get a check of traffic, and then we'll get you ready for Billikens basketball on KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we got a couple of incidents out there right now. The biggest one impacting traffic is westbound 70 on the Blanchette Bridge. I can't tell if it's a stall or a crash, but the center lane's blocked. Westbound 70 is a jam solid back at 270. Westbound 70 is also slow. Riverview out through Jennings Station around Hanley and Cypress through Lindbergh, but those aren't jams. South 170, the left lane is all that's open. Past a crash at Delmar, a short back up there, then it's slow all the way down to 64. Northbound 170, north of Natural Bridge to Airport Road's heavy. Eastbound 64, McKnight to Big Bend's backed up. Westbound 64, Hampton to Clayton, or Kings Highway to Clayton, Skinker's slow. And then west of Winghaven out to 70, there's busy pockets. 270 both ways between Clayton Road and Alva's busy. Southbound begins at Olive, goes to Doherty Ferry, and then 44 down to Gravois. Eastbound 44 approaching Hampton to Kings Highway is backed up in the work zone. Southbound 55 a little back up Arsenal toward Gasconade where they just cleared a crash. And westbound 44 slow downtown between the bridges. I'm Roger Brand at the Michaels Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
All right, picking it back up. We got another minute and a half or so, Matt. But to wrap up that thought, I think what's really hard about what I've observed being really difficult for a lot of fans in baseball, in particular, is football fans tend to watch football. Mm-hmm. Baseball fans tend to watch their team.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with
that. No. This is not a criticism. It's because of the difficulty of keeping up with a team every day. So you're not going to be able to keep up with a whole league if you're looking at every team playing 6 days a week. In football, you watch your team once, well, you're still going to watch other games, and it's easier to do it that way because they're usually on weekends, and they don't all stack up, and you've got primetime games and all that. And in baseball, it's a bigger commitment to be a fan of a specific team, the time commitment, and I think that skews perspective a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, and again, you're just watching your team, and that's fine. It's just I think it's being careful about making general takeaways about all of baseball just based off what's going on in your team. A lot of things that people complain about that are going on with the Cardinals are actually going on with just about every team in baseball.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I learned this a long time ago, man. I was doing national radio when I first started, and we had, all the big cities, all the baseball markets. In every market, people would call in and complain about how stupid their manager was. Just as an example, like every market, even at the time, this was during the 90s Yankees dynasty, even Yankee fans, like, can't believe Torrey's doing this stuff. It's normal because you're locked in so much on your team. Just try to look outside that a little bit is all I'm saying. Have a good night, buddy. Enjoy the evening.
All right.
Billikens basketball next on KMLX.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Tech, sponsored by